In this section, we'll talk about troubleshooting your machine. When you're working on a client, you might find that either the ink is spilling out onto the skin or you're not able to implant the pigment into the skin. The first thing you want to look for if the ink is flowing out too much is if your needle hang is too short. So right now, my needle is hanging out less than 1 millimeter. So that is going to make the pigment kind of just spill out like that in the skin. So if that's true, then the opposite is true for if you are not seeing pigment come out of the cartridge. Your needle is likely hanging out too far, more than 2.5 millimeters. And what this does is it prevents the tip of the needle from retracting all the way back into the cartridge to grab the pigment. Your needle has to be able to retract completely to bring pigment into the skin. So you might see some dots, but you might not see consistent dots. Let's make it go out a lot further. See how nothing's happening now? Because the needle can't go back into the cartridge and grab any pigment. It's too far out. Another thing that could be happening if you're not seeing the pigment going into the skin is that there could be a pooling of pigment at the end of your cartridge. To get rid of any pooling right at the end, you can dip your tip of your needle into water and see how it's flushing out the pigment. This is just cleaning the cartridge so that you don't have any clogs that will prevent the ink from flowing correctly. If you've made those adjustments and still are having issues with getting pigment to implant into the skin, it could be that your angle is off. So think of it like when you are using a pen, how when you come at the paper at an angle, the pen may not implant pigment into the skin. You may need to go back upright 90 degrees. Because any angle could prevent the pigment from flowing out correctly.